Buckle up, warriors, because Jersey is in the house. I just had to say that, ladies. I just had to throw that in because I'm so proud of being with both of you. Today on Lynn's Warriors, we bring you an extraordinary and much needed conversation. It will be raw, sometimes real. We'll discuss the reality of human trafficking with survivor leader Tanya Gould and Jacquelyn Aluotto. Both. Tanya is an anti-trafficking specialist. They're both. I don't. You know what? I'm going to put everything in the body of this video because they both have such tremendous credits that I want you to take your time because I want you to sit and listen to us right now and read up about everything they are doing. But they're both, I'm going to say experts. They are experts. They're at the forefront of changing the narrative, exposing all kinds of exploitation, educating the public, our number one goal at the Warriors, and building a future where every child, every person is safe and free. Tanya Gould serves as Virginia's director of the Anti-Human Trafficking Office under the Attorney General and advocates and does so much more. We'll get into that and is involved with many different organizations. Now, Jacquelyn Aluotto, doing so much. Co-founder and president of No Trafficking Zone, an organization committed to fighting human trafficking with bold systems, legislation, law enforcement community action. So you can follow both of them on LinkedIn. And also I'll have their websites. I'll have everything there. Just know going into this, there is so much about these two incredible warriors. I'm so proud to stand with them. And I want to just jump in and get right to the discussion. So welcome Tanya and Jacquelyn to the Warriors.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Listen, thank you for making me almost tongue-tied because there's so much information. Again, I want to say it's going to all be in the body of the video, so relax about both of you. And it's a complete honor you're taking the time to join me. Tanya, I want to start with you. Let's just jump right in. As a survivor leader and now director of Virginia's Anti-Human Trafficking Office, how do you balance your personal story with responsibility of shaping policy that will protect other survivors, other victims, other people?
Right. Yes. First of all, I do want to mention that we are Jersey girls, and I made sure that I wore my hoops.
You know, I almost did mine too, but I didn't.
Well, I got them on for you, so yes.
Good.
So take notice, right? Yeah, balancing is a great word, and I appreciate that because first is about healing, is about understanding what happened, processing it through my entire being, right? And then allowing like the fire inside, right? To, just remembering what happened to me, what happened to others while I was there, why it happened, how it affected me, shaped my life. It had an effect on my kids, trying to raise my kids as a single mom with this type of background. All of that, the sexual abuse that happened to me when I was younger, like all the vulnerabilities, like this, it's huge, right? But remembering that it just didn't happen to me. Like this is happening, the buying and selling of people in America. We know it's happened in the world. We know slavery has happened in every country. I don't know a country, and I just literally don't know. But there could be a country that never had the buying and selling of people for services of fire. I don't know. But I know it's a worldwide issue. Here in America, we talk about the home of the brave, land of the free. And when I was in school, I believed that because we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance and sing the song every day, while at home I was being mistreated, neglected, abused, right? But I wasn't the only one. So when I began to advocate for myself, it was very difficult to do because I'm still trying to heal. I'm still trying to get things that I need, and I'm also trying to help others. And so that just developed this way to be able to strategically, figure out how to get things that were available already to my community. And I just started doing that. And before I knew it, I was with an organization who said, hey, why don't you be our policy chair? And they dragged me all over DC, which is the best way that, I could learn. And I learned, how important it is to figure out gaps in legislation and to fight for on that level. Because when you hear that survivors are writers of history, I believe we can have an account of that through legislation. I think if we look at legislation, we can see where survivors have had input, because you can feel the difference. I didn't want to forever. I just wanted to.
No, that's why we need several parts to really get in on our schedules, to make a point to come together more often and really start talking about things, right? And letting the public know what's going on, because every time I say something, almost all the time they say to me, I never heard about that. I don't know about that. Or they say, how can I help? Which is what we love, right? How can I help? So thank you, Tanya, for sharing that as an entree to what we're talking about, and for sharing your personal story, some of it as well. Now, Jacquelyn, let's get to you. Let's start with, you've turned your years of research, your documentary work, into a national force that is the No Trafficking Zone. What moment made you realize that communities, like what made you wake up and realize communities must mobilize, come together, and fight this crime? It's just bigger than you working perhaps on a documentary.
I think that was it was a culmination of years and experience. When I first did the documentary, I was so young, and I just thought, we're going to expose the truth and the whole world's going to come together and we're going to change the world. I was very naive. And when that didn't happen, I got angry. And so I started doing research on what do people really respond to. And that was then creating a website that was on the top 10,000 most viewed websites in America. But again, it wasn't changing really the impact of people suffering. And so when I moved to Texas, really started figuring out we have to break human trafficking down into markets. And when we break them down into those markets, a lot of those markets were specific communities and how people were trafficked. And that we have to mobilize not only all those communities individually, but together. Because when people start understanding that they're suffering the same crime in different communities, you can bring people together. And bringing people together on a crime that is over $245 billion, which makes more than oil, Nike, and all the NFL teams combined, we have to come together, because we know that in this nation and the world, it's always going to be profit over people. And so commodifying people is really very normalized, not only in this country, but in the world. So the only way that we are going to prevent and combat human trafficking is by mobilizing us all together, on understanding and respecting the differences of our communities, and that America as this country looks different for a lot of different people, but that when we come together, we can really create change.
Yeah, power in numbers. It's our hashtag, community creates change.
Yeah.
So while, we work in Washington, which is great because that's a big piece of it, right? It's really the boots on the ground. It's in the community doing that work. And I just want to go back on one thing, Jacquelyn. You got angry. I like that. I like when Tanya gets all fired up, and my anger also motivates me. Like, how am I going to do better? How am I going to get around that? Let me think out of the box. I think all of us think out of the box as well, because that's what we do from Jersey. When you're from Jersey, that's it. Even though I am missing my hoop earrings, but Tanya, you represent all of us today. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Tanya, many survivors. Let's get into this a little bit. Let's be raw. Let's be real. Whatever you want to reveal, truth here, right? That's what we're about at the Warriors. Struggle to really be heard, in my opinion, in legislative or any of these institutional spaces, right? So, what breakthroughs have you personally witnessed where survivor voices finally have begun changing the direction of policy?
I would say, only because I work closely, in this space, when I was a part of the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, that space, the survivors, we worked hard to make sure that we were not being tokenized. because we, understanding that that's very easy to do. Um, we wanted to like strategically ensure that how we set up our committees and how we are, even like with the language that we decided to use, like when we started every call with the different agencies and departments on the federal level, we would say things like, we want this to be a meaningful conversation, right? What do we have to do to ensure that this conversation is meaningful and has long lasting effects? Like we wanted to make very clear our intent, because we know what it feels like to be degraded, right? To feel like we are like society's deplorables, right? To feel less than the dirt under your shoe, right? With no direction and nowhere to go except for the person walking, right? Who's taking you places, right? We know how that feels. And so it is still very difficult to be trusted with our allies. It's very difficult to be believed. We still have to fight really hard to use our voice in a way that is meaningful. So in that space and, creating reports, I think people, we were able to be seen for more than our story, because we were able to take what happened to us and the people that we work with, other victims and survivors that we mentored, did like case management for, or, some of us had worked in shelters, residentials. Like we were taking those experiences, and now we are looking through policy and legislation to say, oh, what about this? We need you to think about this, because traffickers have great networks. They're smart and they're strategic. That's how they've been alive and well. They're not, almost dead somewhere on a life support. No, they are thriving and growing, right? Because they're used to this. We're not, as far as the community that's combating this. We're just still figuring it out. We're trying to build our networks. We're trying to learn, right? And we're still behind. We're still following traffickers. We're still following their trail. And so in order to get ahead, you have to have survivors, because survivors know what traffickers are thinking. We know how close their networks are, and so including us, listening to, we would be a lot further if we were listened to the first time, right? So I'm so thankful that many of us are able to say it in different ways over and over and over and over again. And we have to. I can't tell you the same time that I'm saying the same thing, but I'm just saying it a different way. You see what I'm saying? Because we weren't heard the first through the 10th time. And so having a report, I think organizations and, folks even across other parts of the world get to see our report, and they're like, oh, wow, these are brilliant people. They're not just, the prostituted or, the just like whatever box you thought we were, because we were there. Right. But to see us more than that, than what we were, than what society thought of us at one time. Now you get to have a different thought about who we really are. And, I like to say that my trafficker didn't know. He thought he knew me, but he didn't know. He didn't know, because I'm getting him back now. I'm getting justice by changing systems, by being who I am, by being authentic, by telling the truth, by telling on him, by telling on those who hurt people like me. I'm getting him back. That's right. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it harder for traffickers to do what, was done for me or done to me.
I like that. The first thing when I started the Warriors about 6 years ago, right? Officially in 2020, but I was doing a little bit on my own behind the scenes, just educating myself. The first thing I noticed, again, not knowing anything about this subject, really, just saying like to myself, I have to expose this. I have to work on this. I have to educate people. Why don't more people know about this? Mm-hmm. The first thing I noticed when I started reaching out, like, to different groups and survivors, and I would talk to them, and And I didn't understand the dynamic of how they were being, I didn't understand the dynamic of how they were being treated. That was the first thing I remember somebody telling me. I didn't speak any English, and they gave me a $15 Target gift card to go to a shelter from New York City, take a train like way out in Rockaway, Queens, and I don't even, because my trafficker dumped me here from the Mexican border, and I was like, what? There's not
Yeah.
like a system set up or like a chain of you go from here to there for, and that fueled me. I got really angry, right? To like go in that direction. We cannot do, I think we all agree, all of this work has to be done with survivor leaders, survivors educating us, giving us the input. I don't think anybody, I can't do my job. I haven't been through trafficking. I'm passionate about it, but I need your input. I need your direction, or how I can empower what you need so we can begin intervening and preventing new victims. But that was the first thing I noticed. It was about, wow, there's really nothing. I'm in the middle of New York City and they hand somebody like a Target $15, and they don't speak English. Like, how? I remember thinking so horrible about that. All right, as we get into this now, Jacquelyn, I don't want to be remiss. You've had some great success recently with the No Trafficking Zone Act in Texas. I want you to go into that right now, because everything we're talking about, warriors, you're hearing right now, there's so much hope also. And so I want to make sure I focus right now on that, because that to me is like the greatest thing going on. Okay, one of them right now, a major victory. We want to always share victories. So let me ask you something. Can you walk us through how this idea that now protects, kids across schools and events and things like that? Give us a little bit of that landscape, that timeline of what happened with all of this. How did you accomplish this?
Well, we accomplished it literally because of God, but I'll walk you through the process. When we started working with law enforcement and recovering victims, what we were seeing is when we started really advocating more for those survivors and getting to know them, we started realizing that traffickers were targeting certain areas, but those areas weren't being talked about. And schools were one of them, and the foster care system. And so those were two markets that we said, okay, we need to make no trafficking zones, because these are some of the most vulnerable, whether they're runaways, whether they're in the foster care system, or peer-on-peer exploitation through schools. But we knew that people weren't using this language yet. So we did some research, and we found in Texas that 55% of survivor leaders said that they were first either groomed, targeted, or recruited in connection with their school. Whether it was someone introducing them to their pimp or trafficker, another school, online, at a dance, at a football game, at a party, or it was peer-on-peer recruitment from their own school. And so we thought 55% is a staggering amount of people. And in the state of Texas, on any given day, 79,800 youth are trafficked. So that to us was staggering. So we had decided that we were going to create the No Trafficking School Zone Act, which not only was 1,000 feet circumference around the school campuses, but it was also during any school function. So debate nights, prom nights, dances, any kind of games, any sponsored school events. And then we wanted to make sure that we added social media, because we understood that that market and that target, pimps and traffickers, were sending Ubers and Lyfts, or they were setting up dates online with the girls through social media. And so once you enter that zone, whether it be through social media or physically, it was going to be a first degree felony, 25 to 99 years. Because what we were seeing traditionally happen was a slap on the wrist. Pimps and traffickers were getting deferred probation, or they were doing 1 year in jail. And so that was not a deterrent. It was always this low risk, high reward crime. And we want to make it a high risk crime to really disrupt criminal networks. So when that passed, it passed unanimously. And it also allowed our attorney general to go after suing TikTok and other social media platforms who have broke the No Trafficking School Zone Act. And so we started realizing how powerful it was. And then the next session, we did it with foster care facilities, juvenile detentions, homeless shelters, residential treatment centers, juvenile detentions, and all college campuses. And then this legislative session, one of the moms whose daughter was murdered a week before her prom said it's time that we make all of Texas a no trafficking zone, 25 to 99 years. And by the grace of God, it's always a fight because people always say this is a horrible crime. But when push comes to shove and we're supposed to show our actions, a lot of times legislators have problems with these harsh penalties for the most horrific crimes. And that for us was really telltaling of who we want to make sure we don't want to get reelected. But because we applied so much pressure, a lot of those elected officials came around. And I want to say with every single one of our bills, survivor leaders were at the table. When we first did SB 1831, the No Trafficking School Zone Act, we had survivors read it and say, what are we missing? Because we didn't want other youth getting trafficking charges when they were being trafficked themselves. And so there were specific things that we made sure not only were survivor leaders at the table, but that they could help rewrite policy with the elected officials and that we could help stand behind them and fight for it. And now no trafficking zones are in 4 different states. New York is one of them. It was introduced, and we're hoping that it's going to be in every single state, where at least if every state doesn't want to do all of their states, then they're going to really create these zones to protect people where they are targeted the most. It's very, very important. This is how we're going to disrupt and dismantle criminal networks, organized crimes, homegrown gangs. It's just, this is the deterrent.
This is so excellent. And you're a warrior. I'm just going to keep saying here because, the proof is in, there's so much talk, as both of you know, right? And not a lot trickles down to solutions. Yet we have solutions, in my opinion. We have a lot of solutions. If we could just clear the highway, so to speak, and let people who know what they're doing, you know what I mean, get in there and we give them the resources, we could get so much more done, right?
Yeah.
I call it plugging in the holes. I really think there are a lot of solutions. Some great people, such as both of you, let you do what you know how to do. What are we waiting for? That brings me to you, Tanya. I want to ask you, when you're talking to communities, or let me change it. I'll say legislators or members of Congress, what is something that you find constantly, like a misconception about the whole surrounding human trafficking that you must get tired of explaining to them, but you have to do it, whatever. But what's the misconception? Because I'm sorry, what's so hard for everybody to understand? I don't really understand that part of it.
I mean,
it's kind of a loaded question, I know, but
yeah, no, I get it though. I mean, I will say over time, because I've been doing this work for about, I guess, 15 years now. It's been over 10 years for sure. Not quite 20 specifically with human trafficking. And what I understood when I went in and was at first frustrated a lot is that, folks that are holding these spaces, they don't know everything. That's why we get to come in front of them and educate them. So it's an educating opportunity. It's a time to talk through what they don't know. And so it became less frustrating because now I get it. I ran for office myself. I mean, I don't know much about our, roads and transportation and all of that. I would need someone to tell me, right? And I would need to listen, and I would need, them to meet me where I am in order to make important decisions, especially when it comes to legislation, to law. And what happens, the frustrating part for me is that sometimes they listen to the wrong people because they don't know what they don't know, legislators, right? And they want to learn because you only have 2 or 4 years to make something happen. And you got to build relationships. You got to there's so much, and it is such urgency, right? And so that's why it takes so long to get a lot of things done. But when the wrong people have access to the right people who are the decision makers, that's where we find ourselves constantly in this battle where we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back. You see? And so I would say for me, that's the most frustrating. And so, I think legislators, they understand now where they didn't even 5 years ago, just saying something like, meeting them where they are at the word prostitution and saying something like, I was prostituted. And I don't know, it just worked. It's like, oh, like you didn't want to prostitute, right? Yes, we got it, So it was just finding ways and words to help move that thought, that person, but then they're gone in a couple years, right? You build this relationship and then they're gone. So now I would say more is about the demand piece, right? The idea that there are people who love sex work. This is what I aspire to do. Like, especially, male folks, right? See this as entertainment, somebody doing my bachelor party, blah, blah, and take it too lightly. They don't understand the effect of, me or people watching their trafficker negotiate a sale, on their behalf, right? Of their body and their choice. Like when we're talking about, I think people who are all about women's choice, this should be, an issue topic, because I did not have a choice, right? Because of the manipulation and deception, right? Had my trafficker, and many folks who are doing this with a trafficker were just upfront and say, this is what I'm going to do. Do you agree? I would have said no. Right. Like, why would I do? That's not what I want. That's just not what I want in life. And why would you even ask me? What's your problem? Because that's crazy, right? But because that would be the answer most of the time, the truth about okay, well, let's talk about it. Trafficker, who would be the buyers? He would say, I don't know. Is that okay? No. Right? So there is just, legislators don't understand that piece, like what happens behind closed doors and those conversations, that bring people like myself who are hoping and dreaming of a better future, or not even a better, just their dream or what they aspire to. Traffickers, make us think that, we can together make this happen. And, working at a regular job is not going to get you the money that you need in order to have your American dream, right? So they play off of our entire system. And just like any business person, well, not any, some, right? Because that's America too, right? We get to sell our business, we get to inspire people, or, to buy our product or service. And so that will take me down another rabbit trail about how we need to hold business people accountable, because they are a solution too.
Oh my goodness, that's another program. But yes, everything, we don't talk enough here in New York, especially about end demand. It kind of goes in one ear, out the other. I hear it once in a while. I was meeting with, shall remain nameless, some lawmakers here in New York about 2 years ago, and they had the nerve to say to me, one was a woman too. That's even the most offensive. And they said, well, men need comfort. I said, what? And at the time, it was because we have all of them. The migrants were like, I would see these women on the streets. I would see what looked to me to be like 12-year-old girls pregnant at the family hotels outside. I'd see all this. I'd see a mother sitting on a dirty sidewalk, not on a blanket, selling trinkets with a baby on her back and a baby in her lap. And so I was very concerned, as we know, a lot of these women were forced into all of this trafficking and prostitution, even through the cartels once they got here. We know this from our work with law enforcement. So I decided I'm going to Queens and Brooklyn. I'm going to meet with people. And they gave me some meetings, but that was their kind of overall response to me. Like, let it be, leave it alone. Uh, these men are, this is they treat sex a different way from other places. I'm like, but I know we have men, the family hotel around the corner, because the doormen report to me, they drive up 2, 3, 4 in the morning. The cars line up, and these are supposed to be wives and mothers in the family hotel, and they're just having this out in the cars, sex, you know. Let it be, Lynn. Let it sit. What, you're not going to change anything.
Can I
And that,
respond to that?
yeah, I
Yeah.
want you to, because
I
I'm still so
I
angry.
want to respond too.
Oh, good.
I want
Okay. I will make it
please.
short because we didn't hear from you and I just talked.
No,
So
just please weigh in. I want you to, because like I'm
Okay.
so angry and offended by this.
yeah. So the men need comfort is so wrong for society to play in and support the idea that boys will be boys. That's so unfair to men. It makes me sad for my boys that I raised, that I had to fight that, right? I had to say, boys will not always be boys. I'm raising you to be men, to be fathers, to be providers and protectors. And the fact that someone, not just one, but people think men need comfort, it makes it seem like men are weak. Men need responsibility. That's what they need. They need to feel wanted, not in a sexual way or to meet their whims. For what? That's society putting that pressure on men to continue to show their manliness by raping, by, because we're not harsh on them for rape because of that reason, because we all bought into this lie, this illusion that men can't manage their sex drive. That is so wrong. And when I'm at colleges and universities and I'm talking to young men, I apologize to them and I tell them, as a survivor of human trafficking, being in a situation where men, that's all they want from me, first, I forgive them. And second, I don't believe what society says about you. I believe that even through what I've gone through, that you can manage yourself. I know you can, because you're men, period. And so it's like beliefs like that keeps the machine running. And we need to stop that, because that's not true. And I want more men to say, I don't need to be comforted in that way. I need men to stand up and say that.
Yeah, and we need to get them out of office now. Jacquelyn, your wheels are turning. I'm seeing
I
this.
can add to quite a few things. I'm gonna unpack here, and then I'm gonna add to a few other things. First of all, boys being boys, or because what people said to you, Lynn, well, they come from other countries, and that's how they do it in other countries. In other countries, they marry 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds. And you better understand that you're not going to come to my country and live in my state and think it's okay to marry a 9-year-old. I don't care what religion or culture you're from. In the United States, that's called pedophilia. Raping a child, forcing them into marriage is not okay. And so to say that is wrong on every level, because in some countries they stone women to death after they get raped. Does that mean that we're going to allow that behavior to happen here? Absolutely not. Our country has laws. Our country has laws for reasons, and we need to uphold those laws. If you want to live in this country, you have to uphold the laws that we are all fighting for. And one of them would be, you cannot rape women or children. You cannot marry children. And you cannot buy people and buy and sell them to commodify them. That, period, end of story. I'm so confused with this, where if you sell someone, it won't be illegal, but if you buy someone, it will be. The purchasing of a person should be illegal, and I want to just break down why. Every victim that I've encountered, for the most part, maybe a few percent, and I've been doing this for almost 2 decades, has never identified at first as a victim. Most of them didn't even realize they were human trafficked. at the time until they heard someone speak or they read a book or they realized something. And even then, when they understood human trafficking, they still blame themselves. So they don't identify as a victim. They're so silenced in their own shame and manipulation. And the reason why traffickers, when they first come up to you, don't say, hey, I'm going to buy you and sell you, is because they have to groom you first. They have to groom you so that you lose your identity while they're pouring either alcohol or drugs on you, or they're isolating you, or they're manipulating young children, or they're blackmailing them. They're grooming you and breaking you so that you become what they need for you to be so that they can profit off of you. And what our nation needs to understand is, what is coercive control? What does manipulation look like? And what do trauma bonds look like? And understanding that predators' jobs are to prey and they are master manipulators. So they are going to find your vulnerabilities, and we all have them, whether your mother just died, or you're in a single household, or you grew up poor, or you have special needs, whatever it is, it's their job to find it and then exploit it so that they can use you as a commodity. And until we understand that that's why this crime is hidden so much in plain sight, because victims do not identify or they are so afraid, we're not going to be able to really tackle this the proper way. And we're always going to look at it as, well, she's just a prostitute. And there's so much more to that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's our problem, right? It's like I'm the problem, right? That's how we feel, the victims. We feel
Right.
like we are the issue, we are the problem. And that's again an illusion, it's a lie. We are not the problem, right? And
Mm.
so lifting the burden off of us would be nice. And putting the responsibility where it should be is the right thing to do.
Right. If you look at some of these cases where with kids, whether they were trafficked from a stadium or they were trafficked from the school, you'll see the victim say, oh, I shouldn't have lied to my parents. I went to this party. And then people are writing in the comments on social media, well, that's a bad kid. They lied to their parents. So that means that they should be raped, that they should be gang raped and trafficked. We've all lied. We all, when we were kids, we thought we knew everything. And then when you get older, you realize, oh God, I really don't know a lot. But this is this stigma that we keep on placing and blaming the victims. Well, they shouldn't have done this. No, you just shouldn't rape people, or sex crimes should not be allowed to happen. And because we're constantly shoving that down people's throats, you always hear victims say, well, it was my fault.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't your fault. It's the person who violated you's fault.
Yeah, I everything both of you said, I don't understand why we're not putting the onus on the pimp, the trafficker, the sex buyer, and especially I'm thinking about New York right now, where I have, a lot of experience with this. That's what I'm thinking about. And the other thing I wanted to throw in is, I remember, because the Warriors were attached to different coalitions all around New York State, right? And I brought up at a meeting one time, and again, no names, and it was a couple of years ago. I remember saying, I was on the Zoom with like 25 heads, okay? And I'm always like brainstorming, where I used to be, okay? Like throwing out ideas, right? Because we have to think of different ways to wake people up, right? And I remember saying specifically, why it's all women. Why aren't we bringing men into the groups? Like, why aren't we having strong men, strong, goes to what you were like saying, Tanya, like father figures, or men be men kind of, and we need them to show there are men like this, strong men. And we also need men to show strong men that are supporting like women and girls, right? I got shot down. They could have thrown these daggers through the computer screen. They shut me down. They said it's women only and we don't want men. So I never brought it up or really participated with them, from an arm. And I thought, what a weak response to me.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that attitude either, because we do need men for our boys, right?
Yeah.
And also for our girls and women to show like they have our back and they support us, and it's not going to be the boys club. There are good men, right? So I don't even understand. I don't know if either one of you have ever had any kind of experience like that, but I was like shocked that they would just get so angry at me for bringing up men.
Yeah, I think it's you have to understand humanity. You have to understand history, right? Why we repeat things, and some things we do better with, but there are still some underlying issues that are there when it comes to gender-based violence, violence against women, wars, right? What a man should be, what a woman should be, like all of these are contributing factors to our perspectives and experiences, and all of that. So I think it's important to forgive, right? That's key. And I think when, it's hard. It's hard to forgive knowing that when you forgive, it may not be the last time this thing ever happens or happens to you, right? It's like
Yeah.
the world constantly affirms that this or that, right? So forgiveness is a, internal, personal, unique decision to myself. And in doing so, for me, I have understood more about like self-love, the things that I felt were portrayed to me by society or my trafficker buyers, things like shame and guilt. That was never mine. That was given to me. That was put onto me, right? So those aren't mine to hold and carry. So I choose to let go. So I'm saying that to say when you find yourself in groups that want to blame or not really have deep and meaningful conversations for a real solution, right? Sometimes it's because, people are still holding on to things that hurt them. And I get it, I understand it. But that's not my way. That's not what I'm doing, right? And I have to just stay with that. And, I don't know how I would have, a lot of times I just stay quiet because I get it and I understand. And I don't want to deepen the wound, right? But, I know that I can lead by example. And when I get an opportunity like this to talk about forgiveness and what it means to, walk in wholeness and to do something, because a lot of people I saw a post today, it was just saying, okay, people may say a lot like about, I'll pray for you, but sometimes that's all people know how to do. That's it. It's okay. If that's all someone knows how to do, let them do that. People often say to me, I want to do something, but I don't know what it is. I don't know how to because it's so big. And so I always say, figure out what your talents and gifts are. Make sure you're healed and you walk through your own, self-awareness, self-actualization. You're confident in who you are. And there's a lot to do. You'll figure it out, but you have to walk through your own, self-process and self-healing in order to do that. And that's why we constantly fail. A lot of times is because we're just shooting out there because we're angry, but not angry is good. Anger is good, but sometimes it's loaded with unforgiveness and bitterness and resentment. That's not the kind of anger we're talking about. We're talking about the anger that's, righteous. This is wrong and we're going to do the right thing. And I'm going to keep being tenacious and I'm going to get on your nerves and I'm going to keep saying the thing, until things change. And I'm going to do it with my gifts and my talents and confidence. So.
I love that messaging. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, and I love your perspective, Tanya, but, I highly respect you so much that I always am asking for your opinion and advice. There's a few things. We're in 2025. We need to all grow up and get over ourselves. And I mean everyone. We need to come together. Our world is like falling apart, especially this nation. And we need to come together. I do find it appalling that a big part of the human trafficking movement are women that are recruiters and groomers and madams and traffickers. And I think that that's something that has to be realized, that it's not just men preying, it's women that literally are profiting off of young boys and girls' vulnerabilities. And I think that this mindset of this gender can only be here, or this religion, or this, no. Um, Humanity is on the brink. These are horrific crimes that are happening now at a much more alarming rate. And we all need to come together. Yes, understand we have differences, but if we don't come together, we can't understand and respect each other's differences. I can't under, I can't understand your culture if I don't know you. Um, and so these are like very important things. And I can't believe that in 2025 we actually have to say them. And I think that for all kind of leaders, whether you're a community leader or an elected official or a local, state, or federal leader, if you're not willing to lead like that, then you need to get out of leadership. Because in order to solve these problems, you are going to have to be humble, and you're going to have to understand there are a lot of things that I need to learn
Yeah.
so that I can apply these solutions, because these are big crimes. And you see the collapse of our society, and it's happening everywhere. You see that the hate in our society, and it's happening everywhere. And it's not going to change until our leaders decide that we have to really understand and respect each other to get to these root causes. Because the issue with all this stuff is there are deep root causes. The reason why people think like this is because we've been indoctrinated to
Yeah.
think like this. The reason why our youth is falling apart, because when they're on social media and the average child that watches pornography is 8 years old, boys see that loving girls is by strangling them while they're having sex, and girls see that as that's how a boy, if he loves me, treats me. Not to mention that they've now been exposed to content and harm and trauma that they've never seen. But this is all where we need to deprogram ourselves and the way we've been taught to think, and really understand that we all need to grow up and evolve, and really start understanding how are we going to put our nation back together, where the buying and selling of a human is just unacceptable. And we shouldn't even be having this conversation, because human trafficking is slavery of our time.
Well, it sounds like you're talking about personal responsibility, and I think that's that's the issue of our day. Personal responsibility. What does that mean?
Right, right.
Look,
And we
you,
all
you
need to take it.
you both of you are such really music to my ears. You're so full of good, common sense. I don't even, information, right? You both related so well. Promise me you'll both come back, because we really do have to keep talking about things change every day. We have to keep reminding everybody about all of this, or how they can get involved. Let's finish up. Jacquelyn, looking ahead, what is your boldest vision for No Trafficking Zone, and how can you get how can we get the public involved with you? What do you need from everybody?
My boldest mission is that I want all of America to become a no trafficking zone. I want that this federally, locally, statewide, that this is a first degree felony where it's 25 to 99 years, not where you plead down, where you will go to jail for at least 25 years to 99 years, so that people will stop thinking it's okay to buy and sell people and rape them on a daily basis. And I want our nation to want to get behind that and understand why that is so important, and to understand that this is my saying that I always say, um, you know, a world without humanity is a world at war. And we need to start getting back to humanity and what it's going to take to get us there. So those are my wishes.
Powerful. And Tanya, let's talk about survivors. They often say healing is not linear, right? I hear that a lot. Never linear, right? So what message of resilience do you want other survivors to hear today, listening to you?
I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is, I've had, let me see. I want to say, you said survivor leaders, other survivor leaders.
Well, I just want other survivors, anybody, they could be survivor leaders or survivors, like anybody who has, suffered all of this. They, at least from my perspective, like when I give somebody a pat on the shoulder, that empowers them. And I literally mean, I talk to them, I look at them, I look in their eyes, or, what can I do for you? But you share what will empower them, give them resilience, because they get worn down a lot because they tell me, right? Or
Yeah,
they feel like they're not being listened to, or they feel like there aren't the resources. We didn't even get into that really. And we don't want people being so beaten down, because I've seen this. I'm sure
yeah,
both of you have seen this, that they go back into trafficking or back into
yeah,
something horrible, right?
yeah.
Resilience, we have to constantly build and empower and engage.
Yeah. I mean, I would say don't be so hard on yourself. Um, I would say, like, it's okay to do whatever it is you want to do. Like, go work at Starbucks if you want to, right? Like, you don't have to show up in a certain way just because, you know, I am where I am. It wasn't easy to get here, and it's not even where I was looking to be. I just happened to find myself here. But I knew I would always advocate, and I knew that I would always like try to pave a way for someone else. I will never forget what it was like for me. Like, those are the things that drive me. And so I had days where I think it was I think it was you, Jacqueline. I'm calling and I'm like, I can't do this. And then Jacqueline says to me, okay, you can quit today, but then tomorrow you have to get back at it, right? And so I have those days all the time, banging my head on the wall. Should I do this? Should I do something else? And then I get up the next day. This too shall pass. I say this a lot. When I had a speeding ticket, I was like, you know what? This isn't the worst. I've been through the worst of the worst of the worst. I can tell you many stories. Even when I thought it was the worst, something worse happened. And so I know that things do get better, but things don't always stay better. So it's just like remembering that I'm human. I need connection, right, with others. I need support, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to quit for the day. It's okay to decide to do something totally different. It's okay to change your mind and do something else. That's what I want to say. You are good, and don't be hard on yourself because you've come through you've already made it. You've already done it. You've already done the thing, right? You don't have to do more to feel more value or worth. You are already worthy. You are filled with value. And I mean, knowing yourself is the best. Knowing who you are, because we've spent we've spent a long time, a deep time, doing the bid of someone else, right? Bending at the will of someone else's desire, but to bend at our own will and our own desire and figuring out what that is for ourselves, that's amazing. And so I would say, do those things. Do what makes you feel come alive. I go hug trees. I really do. I go sit at a tree, lay my back, and just be. And that is amazing. Listening to the river flow, listening to water, just sitting at peace and being by myself and with myself. Sometimes that's all I need. And it's okay to do that. I'm still saving the world because I'm saving me.
Listen, you too. I mean, Tanya Gould, survivor leader, Jacquelyn Aluotto, no trafficking zone. I just want to say to both of you, there's a lot of bad television, which is good therapy. You can tune out the world and watch some like bad streaming shows. No, I'm serious. Just forget about, take a break for 2 or 3 hours. And I mean, that's what I do once in a while, middle of the night, just get away from it. But we start again the next day. It is truly a calling. I have to say, an incredible conversation. Promise me, both of you, we'll come back. We'll do this more regularly to get this information. Again, I like to use the words empower. I get good reaction. I know I'll have some people write to me after they listen to this and say, wow, and it'll help them. We're helping everybody, right? You're not only leaders in your own right, but you're truly collaborators. And we throw that word collaboration around a lot, but I'm here to say, I think we'll talk about it next time, not a lot of true collaboration. You two are leaders in being collaborators, and you've welcomed me at the Warriors into your world. So now you're stuck with me. Okay. but you're truly the solutions. You're stopping, you're disrupting, to help end this trafficking, this exploitation. We proudly stand with you. We support you. Anything we can help you with, we are here for you, shoulder to shoulder. So Tanya Gould, Jacquelyn Aluotto, thank you so much for taking the time today. Let us do this again. I love both of you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.